This is Green Wave Radio Live. Talking to the producer today is saying, hey, just let it all hang out. Hard-hitting and in your face. You can scream as loud as you want. You can rant. You can rave. You can make people piss their pants while they're listening to the show. And maybe they'll even crap themselves. It could get that severe. The truth is severe, America. Quite frankly, it takes people by surprise a lot of the time when they realize things like the federal government is actively murdering its own people, actively seeking and destroying and manipulating different countries and different regions of the world, places like the Middle East, for their own selfish desire and need to conquer everybody and everything, and then to enslave them, maybe not in physical bondage, although I'm sure we're doing that, maybe not exactly here in the United States, although we know there was a historical perspective to that. But there's psychological slavery, there's this emotional slavery, there's corporate slavery, there's taxation without representation, there's confiscation of our guns, soon to be, an absolute deterioration of Americans' values for the Constitution, our founding fathers, what built this country. Everybody's moving now into a much more progressive, New World Order existence. Alex Jones always likes to say that, New World Order. That's kind of just where we're headed. The sheep bond their way all the way, to their own demise. It's like, hey, Bob, why are we following these other sheep here? And they just don't know, and they just keep, falling off the cliff to their own death. Or maybe there's, horse meat's been in the news lately, too. So maybe there's a couple horses. I don't know if I can do a horse impression as well as my sheep impression. So they're just, all being led to slaughter so that they can be, kind of put in the same meat grinder. Just kind of all put together, and then, they kind of suck them out into your burger that you'll go maybe eat at McDonald's a little bit later today. Just eating a little horse meat and sheep together, and you can just taste their fear. You can taste the fear and adrenaline right before they were slaughtered, and it's like, I'm loving it. You're using your little chicken nuggets. You're not even chicken. You're just dipping it in like, oh, how many different sauces does McDonald's have? 1,000 plus calorie ranch and barbecue and honey ranch or whatever it is. You gotta love America, because, and I get it, I understand. I realize I'm oftentimes just so critical of how we've gotten here. I get it. I understand that, my grandparents' generation, and I knew them rather well. They were very fearful of literally not having anything to eat. I mean, quite literally, they lived through the Depression. So it's a total different mindset. So their children, the baby boomers, and many of you tune into our show, and a lot of people that I know within my own community went to work, and you guys went to work hard. You were the byproduct of that fear that, look, oh my God, my parents, they didn't know if they'd have a roof over their head, they'd have a meal. God forbid they were, trying to find some kind of existential self-actualization and, happiness in their life. I don't even think they were really pursuing, or, there was nothing to be said about the pursuit of happiness in the Great Depression era. I was just like, hey, Bob, are we going to eat at noon or not? And if we're not, we better go hustle, cheat, and steal if need be, so we can get a piece of bread with butter on it. And that was a delicacy. So, of course, the baby boomers, they pushed forward, and I'm not knocking what they achieved, but they went to work, and they went to work hard. And it was centered a lot around making money because of the fear of not having any. I mean, if you didn't have money, you couldn't eat. You couldn't feed your family. You didn't have a roof over your head. It was scary. People lost everything during the Great Depression. That's why people like my grandmother, literally, she died a multimillionaire, but she was just, saving every penny until the very last day of her life. Lived right well into her 90s. And it just, the fear was constantly there. Even when she was 93, she was still fearful with millions of dollars in the bank account. Oh my God, I might not be able to eat tomorrow. I mean, think about just how that was deeply ingrained in that generation. And what's interesting, and I was talking with family members last evening about this over dinner, is that the new generation, my generation, the generation younger than mine, has no idea what that was like. We can't, it's very difficult for a lot of us to relate to that. Even myself, I'll try to relate to that. I'll try to think about what it may have been like to be my grandfather and be the man of the house when he was 13, trying to feed a family of, 5 because his dad died, how he was going to, put food on the table for his family. He was the man of the house. Do I know what that was like? Absolutely not. I don't even know how to quantify that or interpret that. So it's a completely different generation. But the problem with the new generation, I think this is it's a pro and a con, is that the new generation, our generation, this younger generation, is so used to the best of everything. Because a lot of us are the byproduct of the best that our parents and the best that their parents, those that came out of the Great Depression, were kind of a byproduct, and so was the country, of a lot of wealth creation, a lot of business, and a lot of growth. And, of course, the industrialization of America, and some bad things, have been the consequence of that as well. But here you have Generation X and Y literally wanting the best of both worlds. But see, they want happiness, they want self-actualization, they want really cool technology, they want all these things, entertainment, that's the new culture, but they really don't want to work for it. I mean, quite frankly, they don't. They don't want to work for it. We just kind of want it. And that's not even me knocking people that are searching for something higher. I search for something higher. I really don't care about money. I really don't. But here's my question. If there's this paradigm shift with this Generation X, Y, that wants something more but doesn't want to go to work to support and drive the engine that created America in the first place, where is America? I mean, what are we left with? Because you got a lot of people over here in this new bucket. This new bucket. They're not servicing this American dream. They're not going to work. They're not paying for any of this shit. They're not doing any of that. Nothing. They just want the best of the best. They want to live a good life. They want to be happy. They don't want to go work the 90-hour job in the factory and die of lung cancer because the chemicals are coming into their body that we didn't know at the time, or maybe we did, and they die an early death of emphysema when they're, 45. No one wants that. So you've got this huge pocket, this huge bucket of people that just want everything but aren't servicing the engine that built this thing in the first place. Hence, coupled with gross mismanagement at a very high level of leadership, we have an absolute broken, disintegrating, insolvent, bankrupt paradigm with nobody willing to service it. Nobody really wanting to do anything to keep it going. Of course, the new bucket wants a lot of stuff. We want a lot of, freebies. We want to be taken care of by the government. These people, they want stuff. They want health care and Social Security and all these social programs because it's, we want utopia. But this big pocket of people don't want to work for it. They just don't. They don't. So we have just a total collapse of what the old world looked like, what old America was, and the new world. And again, that's not me being overly critical or even self-critical of that new bucket per se, of the fact that there is a emergence and a better understanding, I think, of what's more important in life, what means something. I think people are searching for more meaning in their lives. As a byproduct, too, of a lot of the wealth that was created in this high standard of living in America. But let's just face facts and let's get real. I mean, let's understand where we are today in the world today and realize that, look, the country can't afford Social Security. We just can't. Based, where the population is and all the people that are, sucking it dry, and I'm not saying they're not doing that rightfully so because they paid into it. But that big generation over here, X and Y, they're not paying for it. They're not going to work like their parents were. Half these people can't even find jobs. They're sitting on massive amounts of debt. They went to college like the paradigm told them to. Yeah, go to college. Go to college and, get yourself anywhere from $30,000 to $100,000 in debt. And then you'll skyrocket and you'll be famous and you'll be this Hollywood gazillionaire. Money will grow off trees and you'll live a life of ecstasy. I mean, that's kind of what's sold by, the entertainment industry and the media. So here we have a lot of people. I mean, they've been educated, and I'm for education. I think education's great. I think it's also way too expensive for really what it is. When it costs $40,000 a year to go to private school on the East Coast, we got a little bit of a problem. I mean, especially now in the information age where all you have to do is pick up a book or an e-book or Google it or search it out on your own. You can get an education without paying a dime. But, the old paradigm in the educational system, and especially private school in general, is for profit and is more capitalistic in nature, and there's nothing wrong with that. What is wrong with it is how the government has orchestrated one of the largest debt Ponzi schemes around it in the history of man. That's a problem, and that debt expansion is what has raised tuition to these stratospheric levels. Because again, it's always about a payment you can afford, not what you can really afford. Like you ask your buddy, hey, Bob, do you have $100,000? And he'll look at you and be like, what are you joking? And maybe Bob even does have $100,000. But you say, hey, Bob, do you have $100,000? No, he says, I don't. But, Bob, let me ask you this. Can you afford a payment of $150 a month? And he looks at you and goes, yeah, I can. And so then the salesman shakes hands and Bob drives off in his new Beamer. He drives off in his new car. Doesn't have, so maybe that Beamer was, 50,000, not 100,000 or 40,000 or something like that. He didn't have the money up front, but so you gave him a loan. You gave him a loan because Bob can afford a payment. And so that's where we are in society today. It's all about, how can I bundle that payment for you, sir? I was in the banking industry myself for about 10 years. One of the reasons I left is I just didn't agree with the paradigm. Oh, here, let me give you a loan at 0% interest rate. I'll loan it out to you at an LTV and a loan to value of 110%. They were doing these loans where you were actually able to cash out more than the property was worth. And I'll do it at zero. I'll do it at 0%. Here you go, Bob. And we wonder why the credit market seized up and collapsed in 2008. Like it was some big surprise. All the signs we used to see buying houses on the street. Everyone, I'll buy your house for nothing. You see the billboards like, oh, have a home? I'll buy it and I'll flip it for a 50 gazillion% profit in about 30 days. And we wonder why things are so screwed up in America. So anytime the government, gets involved and comes up with these really great ideas to, sell to the groundlings, like, hey, everybody gets Social Security. Everybody's going to be taken care of. I promise you, as President Barack Obama, I'm going to give health care to everybody. And everyone's like, yeah, so cool, Obama. Wow, this is amazing. Yeah. Sounds great. I mean, hey, I want health care. That'd be wonderful. Better health care? I would love that. It's like the No Child Left Behind Act. They structure the wording. I mean, how can anyone be behind and against No Child Left Behind? It's like, you know what, Bob? I don't agree with No Child Left Behind. I'm against it. It's political suicide. So, of course, they're always going to sell you on the things that sound sexy and great and good. But guess that's just what it is. It's deceiving. It's deceiving. It's a non-reality because it doesn't work. Social Security, bankrupt. And I get that so many times from my Democrat friends. I even have people that I know that are, a lot of them, quite frankly, that voted for Obama, have no idea why they did. I'll talk to them over a beer or something, and then they'll look at me and be like, I had no idea he was doing all these things. I had no idea. And it's like, yep, you have no idea. That's where America is today. You have no idea. And that's most of America. Absolutely no idea. They're just being sold on what looks sexy and sounds cool and what sounds good. And so, people tell me this. They'll be like, well, Christopher, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a lot of people called him a socialist, Chris. Just like President Barack Obama, a lot of people called him a socialist. And he got some, works programs done, and he got Social Security and all these great things. And I look them and deadpan them right in the eye, and I say, yeah, it's bankrupt. And it shuts them up. It shuts them down. Because, again, you will always be sold on what sounds good and sexy. I mean, hey, the president he should just come out tomorrow and just be like, hey, you vote for me and I'll give you a gold bar. I'll give you a gold bar to take home, which is pretty much what he did around the housing scandal and the housing scam. Hey, nobody wants to buy a house because they're depreciating a gazillion % overnight? Well, I'll tell you what, dipshit American, sheeple, I'll give you free money, $8,000 tax credit to buy a rapidly declining, deteriorating asset. And literally thousands and thousands of Americans were sucked in. Like, wow, free money? Wow, telling all their friends about it. And I literally know people like this. And a lot of these people I actually care about and love. And they told me this when the last election. They would tell me literally. I'd say, who are you going to vote for and why? And they'd be like, I'm going to vote for Obama because he gave me $8,000 when we bought our home. I mean, literally, people are conned, suckered in. This is the 1-2 snake-oiled salesman punch. I mean, that's what it is. I remember a lot of these people, they got into that too, and what did home prices do? They actually kind of peaked up a little bit. They're a little perky, like, woohoo! Thanks for the free money! Thanks for the free injection from the Federal Reserve! And then right after that, they declined. And then those same people that bought their house are like, maybe that $8,000 tax credit wasn't worth it. Because I just lost over $150,000 since I actually redeemed the credit, because it was all broad market manipulation. It was all broad cronyism. So, we got to go to a break here pretty quick, and we do have the phone lines up as well. And I was listening to a little Bob Dylan before the show, and I was just enjoying his tunes, thinking, man, can't the world be a better place? And, it's almost like, I don't know if I ever really considered myself to be a hippie or anything like that, because, it has all the connotations. But the more I live, the more I start to think, what, maybe I am a hippie. Maybe we could just have such a better world and a better place, and screw the establishment. Shove it, America. Shove it, big government. I'm Christopher Green. We'll be right back. Green Wave Radio Live, hard hitting and in your face.